What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Combine Edition episode of the Schrager Hour. If you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on ESPN, you see that I am in a hotel room and my bed is behind me. That's life on the road. We can't get any more intimate than this, folks. And I got into Indianapolis last night around midnight. And I want to set the stage for you and give you real insider access. If you are in my hotel room right now watching, you know this is as inside as you get. But let me give you the lay of the land and really take you inside the rooms where it happened. It's a whirlwind. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It really starts Sunday night. I got in Tuesday night due to weather in the East Coast, and I was hosting Get Up. So this is almost an abridged version, but I'll be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's important to be there for those 4 days if you want to cover the NFL in an all-encompassing way. There's three different things really going on. There's the college kids and the draft stuff. That's a huge piece of it. They work out Friday, but they also work out Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. They also have formal interviews throughout the days, starting around Tuesday morning. So they've already begun those. I tried arranging a breakfast Wednesday morning at like 10 a.m. and I was told, can't do it. The quarterbacks are meeting with all of the teams Wednesday morning as we are recording this right now. That means Mendoza is meeting with different teams, including the Raiders. That's Wednesday morning. Now, each position group has a different morning, but this is how it goes. They meet with the teams in these things called formal interviews. And if that's the case, the head coach and the GM, and usually depending on the position group, those coaches, they're locked up for the next 4 hours. So like I was at coffee this morning at 6:45 at the JW Marriott, which is really a hub for a lot of this stuff. And I saw George Payton from the Broncos, John Lynch, Darren Muji from the Jets, Sean Payton from the Broncos, of course. I saw Mike McDonald. It's literally everyone is getting their coffee and they're on the go because at 8 a.m. this morning, it all starts with the meetings with these players. The workout schedule is as follows. Now listen, Thursday night, defensive linemen, linebackers, and kickers, they'll all be competing. Friday night is defensive backs and tight ends. Saturday is your day. Saturday is your day. You put the remote on the NFL Network. You take the remote, you throw it out the window. You just leave it on all day because you got your quarterbacks, you got your wide receivers, and you got your running backs. Those are the glamour positions. And then Sunday, you have your offensive linemen. All right, the standard cycle for a prospect. I'm going to take you through the prospect. And this is the following of what their standard cycle is for the week. Day one, you arrive, you have a little orientation, and you start with team interviews. Now, in recent years, and I think it's the case this year because they've done it for every other year, but I remember like Chris Carter and TJ Hushmanzana and another year, John Randall was here. You'd have one of these veteran guys. And one of these veteran guys who's a retired NFL legend would be in charge of one of the position groups and would almost be like a counselor for the week. And that player works with all the kids and all the prospects and gets to know them, but also takes them through the week and is kind of their big brother that they can turn to for advice and how to handle the week, but also where am I going, what am I doing next, and what's up next on the docket. That's day one. You meet those guys usually, and now you're just kind of getting to know the group. Day two is your medical exams, which is probably the most important part of this entire thing. Don't tell anyone. That's why there's so many people that come to Indianapolis from the teams. They want to get the medicals. It's why Indianapolis is so good for the combine because they have a medical facility attached to the actual place where these guys all are. Day three, orthopedic exams, media interviews. So that's when you get them on the podium. And then their NFLPA meetings. So you start to meet with the players union and get an idea of, okay, you're joining a bigger thing than what you did at college. You're now going to be a part of a union. Day four is the day. Official measurements, and then your on-field workouts. That's what's on TV. That's what everyone sees. Then day five, you can go do the bench press. They give that an option after your workout. It used to be the bench press was before the workout, and then guys would max out and be like completely messed up for the workout. So now the bench press is the last day, and then you get on out of here. You get your free shirt, and you have your memories, and you go. It's 5 days. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. So that's the player's schedule. But what I also love about Indy is that you see them together in packs. They usually travel by their position group, and you'll notice like who the different personalities in that position group are. I'll never forget Baker Mayfield. The entire week, in 2018 with that decorated class, he was the Pied Piper. Like you had Josh Allen following around Baker Mayfield. You had Sam Darnold laughing around, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Lamar. They all travel together in packs and they go to the events together. They go to the workouts together. They go to the interviews together. But you can kind of get a dynamic of who's who. What's also cool is that you will see these players working out and stretching and doing their drills and practicing in the corridors of the convention center and in the hotel room hallways. I'm not kidding. I will never forget a couple years ago being in the convention center, finishing up Good Morning Football and seeing a ball whiz by my head at about 90 miles per hour. And it had this cool spin on it. And I look up, and it was Michael Penix Jr. And he's just in the actual convention center where the media interviews were going. And he's having a catch with his trainer and he's working out, throwing the ball lefty, and he's getting his passes in because they don't have access to an outdoor field. They don't have access to their own practice time. So they're often practicing their 40 down a hallway in the convention center. You will see players practicing, working out, and getting their last final reps before their on-field workouts in hallways of a hotel room. It happens every year, and it's never not stunning. That's the players. Then there's the GMs and the coaches. All right. I know many teams now it's in vogue to not send everyone, and McVay is the leader of this. Sean McVay and the Rams, they do not send their coaching staff. They say, all right, we're good. We'll just get it all on film. There's also this feeling of we're not paying for a paid vacation for a lot of these coaches. It becomes a very social thing where the coaches go out and they party. We're not paying for that. You guys stay back, do the work. We'll have all the film of the workouts and we'll have everyone do their interviews. We'll have them on tape. We'll get the gist. But there are still a lot of teams who do come. And I will say this, most teams send their guys. And when you send your guys, it's not just, hey, be ready for the workouts. It is also be on point for the interviews, be on point for meeting with other teams, and be able to get here and make the most out of your time here. And not for your personal career, not to go network and find the next great job, but to make your team better. The camaraderie part is huge. So the Denver Broncos, every year since Sean Payton's gotten there, they have an annual dinner here, and you better be at that dinner. And that dinner, Sean Payton introduces the new coaches, the new front office guys. They've got to get up. They give a little speech. It's camaraderie. Payton believes in that. Let's have everybody on site for this 1 week where we're all together, and then we really start our surge. I think that week helped Denver get off to the start they did last year and go to the AFC Championship. The fact that everyone was committed in February and was there. Now, McVay and the Rams, they'll tell you something else and say, get out of here. It really started for us in July at training camp or at OTAs. Whatever the reason, to each his own. Coaches are here. But the really interesting ones are the general managers. And the other really interesting ones are the agents. GMs and the agents. It's very tricky here. Legal tampering starts at the start of free agency. It's 2 days and you can actually hammer out deals. But the start of free agency begins in the combine because every agent is here. Every GM is here. Each one of them have full dance cards of meetings with each other. I don't think he would mind me telling you that Sean Stellato, Tommy DeVito's agent, he's a big character. Saw him in the lobby at the JW Marriott earlier today. I said, what's up? He goes, well, I'm a mess. I'm like, why? He's like, I got 4 free agents, Tommy being one of them, I believe, DeVito. And he's like, and I had 10 meetings yesterday, but I couldn't get here because of the weather in Boston. I couldn't make it in time. I have 24 meetings today with teams. I said, all right, that's exaggerating. 24 of the 32 teams an agent will meet with in one day. That's real. And it's a 15 minutes. It's a 10 minutes. Here are my guys. Here's the market that I think they're going to get. And as Tom Telesco told us last week on this podcast, the agents usually know more than the GMs. GMs aren't calling 31 other GMs and saying, hey, what do you got on this guy who is a third tight end? The agent knows. And so they fill their dance cards up. And here's the rule if you're in the media like me. Don't bother when you walk by and see one of these things going. That is their one time all year that the agents get to speak with the teams in person. The only time. Really is. So if you think you're worthy to do it, catch up and say, hey, when'd you get in? Don't do it. Stay out of that way. That is their one opportunity. Don't mess it up for either side. You'll see all the major agents here, and they're usually casual meetings, but they happen everywhere. You can't not see an agent meeting with a team, and usually it's GM, cap guy, and maybe a couple other people from the front office personnel. Occasionally, if it's a big player, you'll see a coach. These are happening all day long and usually end around nighttime because that's when things spill over into social hour. The spots. Here's what you need to know. Your beginner's guide to the combine. Prime 47 is probably the main spot each night, and that is a complete cluster F. All right. Like from about 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., there's a legendary coaching agent named Bob Lamont. He has the corner table. Lamont represents most of the league's coaches, and those guys always will come in at least once during the week to pay their respects to Bob, who's in his, the later stages of his career, but is an absolute legend. And they come and they kiss the ring, and it's a cool table. And I've been privy enough to be at the table a couple times over the course of my career. And you'll see Andy Reid there and Brett Veach and Howie Roseman. And it's like a great room. That spot, Prime 47, around 9 o'clock, turns into an absolute bonanza where, yes, it's a steakhouse, but at any given moment, you can see your favorite NFL writer, your favorite NFL reporter. You'll see the Barstool guys. You'll see whoever. It's literally the hub for all nighttime activity at the Combine. Prime 47. Kilroy's, another spot, a little bit off the beaten path. That is for a bunch of the coaches as well. The coaches like to hang out at Kilroy's. That's a bar. St. Elmo's, great spot for dinner. Obviously, the legend of the horseradish and all that comes with the shrimp cocktail. Usually a good spot for dinner, not really an after-hours spot. A few years back, I decided I am no longer the after-hours guy. I host the morning show for NFL Network. Now I'm on all the morning shows for ESPN. Not my place. I'm usually in bed at a certain hour. Why? Because of this. My move. You want to know my move? Here's my move. Ready? And this we could put on the social media because this is gonna be the cheat code for everybody who wants to come to the Combine. The best place to see coaches, GMs, agents, and decision makers is not one of the bars or one of the restaurants at night. The best place is a spot called Cafe Patachu. Even saying it out loud, I feel like I'm giving away the secrets to Fight Club. It's only open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., but it makes the best omelets in the world, the best cinnamon toast you've ever had. And I mentioned Patachu on like a podcast 2 years ago, and I got a call from Peter King, the legendary writer, and a call from Howie Roseman, and I believe a call from Kevin Demoff from the Rams. And all three of them said, "What are you doing mentioning Patachu publicly? Keep Patachu quiet." I'm here to tell you, Patachu is where it all goes down. Breakfast. Before all the mayhem, before the 24 meetings with agents that a GM has to do in one day, before the workouts, before everything, breakfast is the spot. And I was just at Cafe Patachu, and in that moment, saw Mike McCartney, the agent to Kirk Cousins and many others, saw Michael Purritt, the agent to Cam Hayward and many others, saw Michael Greenberg, who works for the Buccaneers in the front office, saw two Giants officials. I saw Anthony Weaver, the new defensive coach of the Ravens. This is the secret that I'm giving everybody. Cafe Patachu is the spot, not the nighttime hangouts, not the shrimp cocktail, not the horseradish. Cafe Patachu is where it all goes down. The breakfast crew. This is why Indianapolis is great. It takes years to be able to understand the waves and the rhythms and all of it. And you can be the hotel lobby guy. You could be the JW Marriott Starbucks guy, or you could be the Cafe Patachu guy. Best omelets and cinnamon toast in the world, yes, but also the best place to see the people who actually run the NFL. Before we get to our two guests, and we got two really good ones, I wanted to give a quick note on the U.S. hockey team. I loved this run. We are a few days removed, and yet the images, they're still with me. I still think of Jack Hughes with that gap-toothed, bloody smile. I still think of, Connor Hellebuck just standing on his head and making that save when it mattered most in the biggest of moments. And then the image of Johnny Gaudreau's jersey being hoisted and Gaudreau's kids being brought out onto the ice. There's a lot to be taken from this, too. Like, I have a 9-year-old son. If my 9-year-old son can see one sporting event for the rest of his life, I would like him to watch that gold medal game and all that came after it. Everything you wanted was there. Toughness, determination, a 46-year drought being wiped away with just heart. And I love the fact that everyone from Canada was saying afterwards that they played the better game and that they should have won. And guess what? That's sports. Sometimes the team that technically played the better game doesn't win. And that's how it goes. I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned there. Personally, I chose to cover sports for a living, and that game is like kind of why. How could you not rally around that? How could you not love the stories? How could you not love the selflessness? And how could you not love the pride, the American pride that team had on the last 2 weeks, but specifically on Sunday? I grew up loving the Olympics, and it used to be amateurs forever, and then they went to the pros. And I remember Nagano with Keith Kachuk and Madano, and I've got a lot of love for Mike Richter and Chelios and Patrick Kane and all the other great American players. None of those guys won gold medals. In my lifetime, I've never seen the U.S. hockey team win a gold medal. I sat there with my son on a Sunday in New York City on a couch watching the first time ever a U.S. men's hockey team win a gold medal, and I got to share that with my son. That's pretty cool stuff. And I got to say, the secret sauce of all of it, like those guys loved each other. And Gaudreau, though he wasn't with us, he was there. He was there. And that image of them at Club 11 in Miami the next day singing the national anthem, as much as you want to roll your eyes at that, it's part of the story too. They got to celebrate. I loved it. And I also want to shout out two of the good men in our little small sports media industry. I know Scott Van Pelt did a really nice piece on SportsCenter about one of them, but I think there's two guys I really want to shout out. That's Kenny Albert and Mike Tirico. They've gotten their love for their work this last 2 weeks, and they've gotten their love for their calls, and that's all great. But I want to make a point here. Kenny Albert and Mike Tirico are just really, really great men. They're great fathers. They're great colleagues. Kenny is all world. I worked with him at Fox, and it's just, I would be surprised if you meet anyone who's worked with Kenny Albert, and if they have anything but positive things to say. Treats people right, shows up everywhere, anytime, whenever he's needed, does every sport, and he loves it. Never complains, and he brings great calls. And Kenny Albert being the guy to be on the call for a gold medal game in which the U.S. wins for the first time since 1980. What a cool moment in his career. And I texted Kenny, and he responds right away. And I said, hey, great job. He appreciates it. And then there's Tirico, who, this might be a little before some of our listeners and viewers' time, but like Jim McKay used to be the voice of the Olympics. That was Tirico these past 2 weeks. Whether it was interviewing Alyssa Liu after she won the gold in her cool new hair, or whether it was that amazing 60-second monologue he gave, which was not scripted and not on prompter after the gold medal match. That's Tirico. He was Jim McKay, and he was that and all that much more, considering the Super Bowl that he called, the various events that he has thrown into, whether it be NBA or Kentucky Derby or wherever else they throw Mike Tirico at NBC. He always rises to the occasion, and he always treats people right. When I worked at NFL Network, I would do these Saturday games. Tirico was on the call, and Kurt Warner was his analyst, and I was the sideline reporter. We had a blast. And Tirico, since those moments where we got to know each other, has always proactively reached out, just checking in, just seeing how I'm doing. I'm nobody. Mike Tirico is somebody, and he would take the time to look out for everyone who is, coming up in the ranks. And that's not just my story. That's everyone's story. Tirico's that dude. He brought it. And I'll say this on a personal level. I left NFL Network at Fox for ESPN last year. I didn't let many people in that circle. I didn't let many people in that decision. I brought Mike Tirico in because he made a huge career move going from ESPN and ABC for all those years and jumping to NBC. And of course, our situations were very different. But when I talk about somebody who gave guidance, gave wisdom, and gave the pros and cons of both sides of both decisions, Mike Tirico was that dude. And he saw it with, hey, whatever decision is the right decision, just follow your heart and follow your gut. I couldn't be happier with ESPN, and I could not be more happy that Mike Tirico gave me that time. And he'll check in on me once a week. We always text, and you'll love this. I texted him after the gold medal match, and there's a million people probably texting, a million things going on. And he writes back and says, I'm bummed I won't be able to see Monday morning get up. I'm trying to get back to Milan. Like, this is what Tirico's all about. So when good guys get good opportunities and get their flowers, that's good. That's really good. U.S. hockey, cool run. Mike Tirico, Kenny Albert, cool guys. What a deal. And we're here at the Combine. Got two awesome guests coming up. John Schneider, Super Bowl champion, general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, and a really interesting guest, Nic Hill, who works over at Exos, which is the top training facility for all these Combine prospects We're going to get to know his world a little bit. Both of those guys after this. With no further ado, he is the general manager of the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. He is also in an Indianapolis hotel room as we speak. We broke bread earlier this morning, but now we are on Zoom, which is always the best way to communicate. John Schneider, welcome to the Schrager Hour.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
I love that you're doing it. I told you this, and there's only one guest I want this week, and every coach is here, every GM is here, but you're the man. You're the man who built this thing. You are the architect, and if you had told me when we were talking at Monday Night Football in September that this team would be hoisting a Lombardi, I would say there's a chance, but here we are. Have you had a chance to really soak it all in that, gosh, this team actually did it. They completed the task at hand, and you guys are Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I think what happens is, at the end of every season, there's always that finality, and you're just ready to, whether you make the playoffs or don't, and you're always in the middle of your free agency planning and getting ready for the draft and everything. And then the season ends, and it's always kind of like for a minute. But we're so involved in our planning for next year. When you win it, and I forgot this feeling like that we had, after Super Bowl 48. It's just like there's no more football. You're kind of like, dang, that did happen. To your point, like, wow, we just won a world championship. And our coach is in his second year. I mean, it's like crazy. So. That part of it. And then when you're down here, like a lot of people, a lot of my buddies coming up and congratulating us and stuff. So it's pretty special.
It's pretty special. And yet the page does turn very quickly. Do you feel behind the 8 ball because you haven't been necessarily as invested watching the college prospects because you're actually preparing for a Super Bowl and watching your team in the playoffs?
I do, not on the free agency side, but on the college side. I know I have some catching up to do. I have some, I have to discipline myself to do some extra studying for draft prep. I wasn't in a lot of the draft meetings we had. We were going through looking for an offensive coordinator with Clint, going to the Raiders, and it was super late. So I was trying to help Mike and the coaching staff out as much as we could. So I was kind of in and out there, but our staff, like, Nolan and Trent and Matt Berry and Aaron Heinlein, like those guys are rolling. So no doubt I'll get caught up. But yeah, that part of it, I'm kind of like, all right, well, it's funny. My son Jax, like, my Jack, he's at Boise. He's finishing up at Boise. He's done an internship with the Panthers the last 2 years, and he's like, well, what do you think of Peter Schrager?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Peter Schrager, like, just give me a jersey number in a school, buddy. Like,
I don't know the names.
There's a lot of names in this head, buddy. So like, just give me a jersey number in a school. I'm good.
Let's go back to the morning of the Super Bowl. Better yet, the night before the Super Bowl. I got to imagine every emotion, every thought. You're thinking the game through 300 times over the last 2 weeks, but now it's just like 12 hours away. How were you feeling? Were you at ease? Were you nervous? Like, where was your head going into this Super Bowl, knowing that you could be one of the only general managers in football history to win twice?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that way. I'm just kind of naturally an anxious person, and we had a really cool family get together, family and friends. We had a mass, and then we had kind of like a buffet, and family and friends, and John Schneider, the Bo Duke, would become friends. So that was kind of fun having him there too. But we got to get together with the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, John Schneider. We're trying to
funny. Get them all together, all three of you together.
Yeah, trying to wrap that in together. But it was just it was cool just being able to be with family and loved ones and just be able to try to get a good night's sleep. And then the Super Bowl day didn't seem as long as the one in New York.
Is it because of the East Coast, West Coast?
I think it was just the game being in California. The buses were leaving at noon, 1 o'clock. So it didn't seem like like that long night game wait, where you're just sitting there, but waiting all day. But it was just like beautiful, like California, everything I pictured, like, remember watching Denver and Buffalo play at the Rose Bowl, and like remember thinking like, wow, what a gorgeous place.
Dallas, Buffalo, yeah, Aikman's
Dallas,
first.
yeah, sorry, and Yeah, and I just couldn't. That day, I was just like, it was that type of day. I was just like thinking like how blessed we were to be there.
So cool. I look at this team that you've built, and what I've made the point of several times in the weeks leading up was a lot of GMs have won too, but like this is a completely different team. There's not a single holdover from the 2014 team that won. So you have, over the course of 10 years, won with a completely different group of guys on the roster, which has never been done before. You go through the names, and each one of them has a story, of course. I look at that wide receiver, JSN, and I think about how there are so many wide receivers in every draft class. And it's one of these positions you get maybe 3 on your roster that are, but this guy's one of one right now and plays in such a unique style. What did you remember of him coming out of college when you're putting on your GM hat, scouting him? And what did you identify as, yes, that's a future Seahawks number 1?
Just the hope that, like that he would be there, really, that he had a hamstring injury that kept him out. But, it's one of, I don't know if we'll see a Rose Bowl performance like that ever. I mean, I just,
What do you have, 15 catches?
Yeah, after after that game was really, I was like, this guy's a top, this guy's gonna be like a top 5 pick next year. And unfortunately, he had a very bad hamstring injury that he suffered against Notre Dame, and that kept him out. And so, unfortunately for those guys, what happens is when you're injured, and it's just, you just kind of, you get pushed down a little bit more than you should, and that's what happened to Jax. But he's an amazing person. His parents raised him well. Like, he's just the ultimate competitor. His game is so well rounded, and he's a unique study the way he operates on the football field.
It's interesting because we had, I did Monday Night Football, Texans Seahawks, and I spoke with Darnold, and he said something really cool, and then Brady echoed it. I wonder if Darnold said it again to Brady, and Brady used it on the broadcast. He doesn't run his routes like a wide receiver. He runs his routes like a figure skater.
Yeah, totally.
I thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Darnold, and he rounds things out. And now coming off the Olympics, it's like it's not so it's a very unique way to run a route, and you can see it.
Yeah, it's his lower body power, and it's his body control. He's just a very smooth, unique, subtly powerful receiver.
The Darnold story is cool too, and I think a lot has been made of it. Obviously, that you guys said, "Hey, we're going to give you the bag," and Sam, to his credit, he told us when I met with him, he said, 28 years old. It's the first time I've ever bought a home.
Yeah.
I'm engaged. I feel full, and I love where I am right now in my life.
Yeah.
But you guys had Geno, and you guys made this move. That's a bold move at the time, and there were some who panned it, honestly, on television elsewhere. Screw them. But you made that move. What did you see in Sam Darnold in the free agency process?
Well, it was it was like being here last year. It was just trying to figure out what the landscape was going to look like, for the pending free agency period, and trying to understand where everybody was, and getting the staff, the offensive staff on board with, hey, if we have to pivot, this is what, is everybody comfortable, and then being able to have all the connections and relationships we have that, people that have coached Sam have been in his world, and all of that just totally came to fruition, with him. I mean, the leader, the person, the competitor, the worker, all that. And he's just a down to earth, like, he's just a
normal dude, right?
Yeah, he's a normal guy. Like, we were standing on the stage, the trophy stage or whatever, and I just gave him a big hug, and was congratulating him and thanking him, and he's like, "Is it weird that I'm thinking about my wedding right now? Like, my wedding's coming up." Is it? I'm like, no, it's not, because you just won the Super Bowl, but I get it. It's a big deal,
A wedding matters.
Yeah. I'm like, it's pretty cool. But yeah, he's just that kind of guy.
Funny. The next day, I was at Disneyland.
I don't think he takes himself too serious, and he's not like this, emotional dude, like the up and down personality. He's just very steady, and his teammates love him.
The next day, I was at Disneyland for ESPN, which is funny in itself. That was my assignment. And I'm with Kenneth Walker, and I'm with Sam. Yeah. And it's like, he's doing small talk with me. He's like, "How are your kids?" I'm like, dude.
They were sitting in a teacup together or something.
I took that photo. It was perfect. Weird. Weird. That's the Super Bowl, though. Super Bowl brings weird things.
Yeah.
I love your career, and you and I have been friends for a long time. But I love your approach to people and the way you connect and the way you operate that building. One of
Thanks.
the people that you have been very gracious towards and shown a lot of love for is the owner, Jody Allen,
Yeah.
over the last few weeks. And you said it on the podium, and now we get the news: Seahawks might be getting sold. What's your process? What's your part of the process and the role there? And it's kind of a little awkward deal because it's like you live in this house, but you don't own it, but yet you're kind of the person that's kind of maintaining it, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, Jody's messaging is like, hey, let's go win another one. So timing wise, you know, we're all in on, you know, I don't know, you know, timing wise, but, you know, looking forward to spending some time with George Payton down here and
oh yeah, because he was there with the Denver ownership.
Yeah, he's been through it, and you know, I consider George, you know, a good professional friend of mine, and so just to get his experience with it, and I'm not sure if, you know, I'll have the same involvement or what this looks like. I just don't know yet, so I'm just looking forward to, you know, having him coach me up a little bit on that.
Yeah, it'd be cool. All right, so not to take a drastic turn to the emotional, but I talked to you this morning. I want to play your quote from the podium at the parade, and we've got our producers going to run the audio. Okay. Let's cue it up. This is what John Schneider said on the stage at the parade for the Seahawks celebration.
So here we go. We had a lot of angels this year. Angels. I lost my father the day after the Houston game this year. And we had angels all year. Ernest lost his father. Jake Bobo lost his father. Drew Lock lost his father. Charles Cross lost his father. TB lost his brother. It's real. Angels, faith, watching over us. I know my father has been watching over us the whole time. We lost one game since my father passed. With those angels, we know that Paul Allen has watched over us. To Paul Allen and Jody, Paul would be so proud of you the way you've led this organization and allowed us to be where we are. To Jody Allen, let's go!
I get emotional. I'm tearing up. Obviously, that's a story that wasn't told. You have 1 million media members at the Super Bowl, and they're all on this boondoggle. No one told the story of all the losses. And the tragedy that you guys have been through, and yet the galvanizing together and kind of bonding through it. Can you take us through that walk you guys walked together?
Yeah, I mean, Jake Bobo had lost his father, Ernest. Ernest lost his father, Charles Cross. At one point we were kind of like, what's going on? Ernest's father was my age, 50. Well, he's a year younger than me. He's 53 years old. Just tragic, really hard for him, and everybody just did a great job of supporting each other. I lost my dad the night after the Houston game, and everybody was just so supportive. Just getting out of town and being able to go be with my family and get through that. But I had this really cool sense of, and I told my mom this a bunch of times. I'm the youngest of 6, my brothers and sisters, but just like a sense of peace, like way less anxiety before games, and like a sense of him just being with me more, and obviously like in a angelic fashion, and yeah. So I know he's like one of those straight to heaven people. So,
and it's beautiful, and I don't want to go too much into it, but he was with you that day on Sunday, and I know that's dramatic, and we're talking about he was
no, he was,
it's the coolest deal.
Yeah, I had a really cool. Let me see if I can find. Let me show you this. It's pretty cool. Dave Wyman, our radio guy.
Sure, legend.
Yeah, he took this cool picture because I wanted to have this private moment where just I don't know if you can see it, but
oh my god,
yeah, it was right before the game, and I'm super short legs, so my feet don't touch the ground, but
okay.
But just being able to have that private time, just listen to some cool stuff, and it's just okay, he's with me. I'm more anxious than the players, I think, on game day. I'm pitting out like crazy, and the guys are always like, "Oh, we got this. It's like, man, okay, well, it's totally out of my control,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm so happy for you, man. That's special stuff, and to hear that from the team side is amazing. We're back at the combine, and you and I have always hung at the combine, and I feel like we have real memories, and I just love you. I think you're great. Like, take us back to the early 2000s combine. And like, I had dinner with Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton a couple of years ago, and Mickey was lamenting over like, what is this now? Like, it's every blogger and he's like, it used to be, we'd go into, whatever it was, St. Elmo's, and there was 20 of us that were in the corner, and you could say whatever, and it was funny, and deals were done. Now it's just been commercialized. You kind of bridged that gap of way back when it was, to like the modern times, and you've been there through all of it.
Yeah.
Give us some old combine memories, like your early ones.
Oh man. So we used to, one of my first jobs working for Ron Wolf and Ted and Ted Thompson and those guys was, being at the old Crown Plaza, and every team had an interview room. And this was before, they had schedules. So what you would do is you would go, like, I would go I'd find out where Willie McGinnis was. And then I'd stand outside that room, and we'd literally get in line. It'd be like, the Vikings and the Packers, and then we're waiting for him. He's in with the Raiders. So then they would get done with him.
Building a spot, essentially.
Yeah, they would get done with him, and then he would go, like, okay, then we'd go to the Vikings room, and then I'd be next in line, and then we'd, and guys would get, they had those two pools in there, and
get your elbows out, right?
Yeah, like guys would get in fights. I mean, I remember it was somebody with the Raiders, and I forget the other team, but all of a sudden you can hear these guys are smacking each other. They're jumping in, they're in the pool, and we'd do all that, and then we'd stay up super late, like meeting with agents, and then like having beers with like our friends from other teams and stuff like that. And to your point, there wasn't a huge media presence.
Or the cameras weren't out, really.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Thank God.
I know.
But yeah, we had some crazy times. So my very first combine.
Yeah, let me go through it.
I stayed at those trains. At the Crown Plaza upstairs. I stayed in one of those, and my alarm was the alarm next to the bed was incorrect. Like the clock time was not right. And I was timing the 10s. Sean Herrock and I were timing the 10s. And I woke up. I'm like, oh my God, I totally overslept. Like, I'm so late. And I remember like putting my contacts in, like, well, I could, I guess I could still go coach high school football. And
doing the whole career plan.
Yeah, my whole career was just over right there, I'm like, well, I'm just going to go over and see if I can, like, just kind of sink into my seat. And I got out, the big church clock was out there, and I was like, I was like 20 minutes early. I was like, whew, thank God. But I just remember like putting my contacts in and going to the bathroom, like, wow, I am fired for sure.
What's a deal that got done here, or at least conversation started that you'll never forget, like an interaction? I guess it's not tampering if at least this conversation started. Yeah. You remember a player or something that was just like, that was combine?
Yeah. There was a running back, where one of our coaches was like, hey, you consider yourself to be a better inside runner or a better outside runner? And he's like, hey, coach, have you seen our new indoor facility? I never run outside anymore. And
that's an all-time. You can't make that up.
No, and I was a guy in Green Bay for a while. I was the one that asked like all the marijuana questions, and we had one player that was like, had failed several marijuana tests, and God rest his soul, Mark Hatley, he used to run the Chicago Bears and then the Packers for a little bit. He kept asking me, he's like, son, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? And he just panicked. He goes, Coach, I was sitting on the couch and I was next.
It was has to
be. Yeah.
Great answer. Honest.
Yeah. And then obviously that stressful, the most stressful one was, getting with George Payton every night. The year we would sneak off to this little pub and.
Did that all start here with the trade with Russ? That started here?
Yeah.
And it's one of those deals where it's got to be somewhere discreet, and it's got to be one where it's like we both know that we want to get this done and we're going to get done, but we also have to kind of play each other a little bit, right? Like I feel like it's
and we were both, there was like, we all have bosses, so. And then you have a third party in there, so it was.
Where was the bar?
It was.
Which one?
It was actually Low Millers. Yep.
Yeah, Low Millers, right over here by the Westin.
Yeah, right behind the Westin. Yep.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for doing this. In closing, Combine 2026. You look back on all these years. Do you take a moment to kind of relish and like, this is my life, this is my career, my son is now pursuing this too?
Yeah.
Is there ever a moment now, especially when you talk about your beloved father and like he's watching over you, but he's probably also watching over your whole family? Just like, what a ride in football.
I had it yesterday with all the all the media stuff, like what we were doing, and somebody was who was it? One of our local guys. I was sitting with him, and he's like, "Man, I don't know how you do this. Like, I'm exhausted, and like you've been doing this so long, and I'm like, I can't believe you do it." Like, I just started thinking, like, after I started like perspiring, I'm like, man, like, you're making me nervous right now. I know we got a lot of work ahead of us and all that. And wow, I have been blessed to do this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, and that's, I've been blessed to work with real stable ownership with Paul Allen, and then transferring to Jody, and for Jody to have the confidence in us to lead the way we want to lead and in our authentic manner. And I tell people this all the time, like, we have so many cool people in our building, so many foundational people that I'm sure you've got to know over the years, like Dave Pearson and Eric Kennedy and Mo Kelly and Sam Ramsden, and these guys. Everybody's been doing it a long time, and I'm just blessed to be the leader of it.
It's so cool. Pearson's the best. If you're listening at home, Dave runs communications and does a lot more for the Seahawks. But I called him about booking this interview, and the first thing out of his mouth is, "So did you pick us or your boy McVay in the NFC Championship game?" I'm like, "All right, Dave, let's not." I did pick the Seahawks. I did pick the Seahawks.
Oh, you did?
I did, and okay. I prayed that Demoff and Snead and McVay were not watching when I went big on the Seahawks. That was it.
Oh, shoot.
John, in closing, I know you and your wife Tracy do so much work in the community, and you have a special cause that you guys are really personally close to. Do you mind taking a minute just talking about the organization and foundation?
Appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah, Ben's fun, our oldest son. Ben is 25, has autism, and he was diagnosed when we were working with the Packers. And we just recognized how expensive the therapies were and everything. And once we moved to Seattle, we wanted to start something. And so we started Ben's Fund, and Tracy, my wife Tracy, and the Women's Association with the Packers have done an amazing job. We've raised, I think, close to $6.5 million now for families that can't afford treatments, and it's just it's hard. It's very misunderstood issue in our country, and it's one that Tracy and I are just extremely passionate about, obviously. So thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely. And anything I can ever do, my number, and would love to fly out wherever and support the cause. You guys are amazing people. You're an amazing family, and
appreciate
you're one of the best to ever do this, man. And I appreciate our friendship, and I appreciate you taking the time here on a very busy week.
I appreciate you too, buddy. Be safe getting back to New York with all that snow, man.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd like to get back sooner rather than later, if you know what I mean.
I do.
John Schneider, GM of the Super Bowl winning Seahawks. Thank you, brother.
All right, Peter. Have a good afternoon.
It's one thing for guys like me in a shirt and tie to talk about 40 times and the stories that these players are going through. It's another one to get inside the actual process of taking an elite college football talent and turning them into an elite NFL draft scouting combine prospect. To do that, I wanted to bring on the guy who probably knows these players best and what it takes to get there. Nic Hill is joining us right now, and Nic Hill works for Exos, which is the top training facility for all these combine process. And Nick is with these guys baton to baton from the start of the race to the end of their final combine workout. And he's got a lot of elite prospects. Nic Hill, welcome to the Schrager Hour, man.
Thanks, man. This is awesome. This is super exciting to jump on here and just kind of talk through this process about these guys. I mean, a lot of this is kind of behind the curtain, and most people just kind of see what happens in Indianapolis and don't realize that there's an entire process that these guys go through for about 6, 7, 8 weeks beforehand, right after they're done with the season.
Okay, so let's do this. So first of all, for the viewers and listeners at home, Nic is top of the game as far as training a prospect. A college football guy enters the draft. They hand over the keys of their next, 8 weeks to Nic and his guys at Exos. And it's like, we're going to take this raw product that's already an NFL player, but we're going to make you the best version of yourself for the combine and for the draft. And we're just going to get you there physically and mentally. For the viewers at home, some of the names in the past that Nic has worked with down there in Arizona since 2017. You ready for this? DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Max Crosby, Christian Gonzalez, Patrick Surtain. Deebo, I said on him already. How about Brian Burns, Denzel Ward? The list goes on and on and on. And Nic, these guys come to you, the season ends, take us from when you get first contacted by them and their agents right through to the combine experience. What is the timeline and what is actually being done?
Yeah. Traditionally, our timeline is January 2nd is when we have everybody enter in. But with the college playoff system, the last couple of years, that has changed up a little. So we'll have some guys that are entering in December, a couple of weeks before the break. And then we'll have other guys that enter in late January even with the playoff system. So it's kind of all over the place now in the last few years, which has been interesting from a training process. I had a Emeka Egbuka out here last year, and he came
What do
in
you got, 2 weeks
very
with
late.
you?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, pretty much. And to be honest, if he would have ran in Indy, he would have ran just as fast. But it was just a quick decision to let him prepare a little bit longer and get ready for pro day.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the process. So if we're just looking at a traditional timeline, they're entering in January 2nd. We're doing a full eval system on them. So we're trying to get a really good idea of the athlete that they are coming in so that we can really individualize each program to prepare them for these tests. Everybody's coming to Indy and doing the same tests, but the path that they get to their 4.4 or their 4.3 could be very different. So we try to figure that out very early on, create essentially an avatar of the athlete through our sports science team, our physical therapists, our dietitians, everything being on site and integrated into one system. And then we build out their training program. And this is a 7-8 week program, 6 days a week, 2-3 times a day sometimes. We bring in position coaches, so they're doing position work to prepare for the position setup of Indianapolis. We're preparing them for the 40s. We bring in interview specialists so that they're getting prepped for the interviews. The idea here is we understand that Indianapolis, the big show is the 40, but it's a whole, I mean, guys are out here for a whole week.
It's a marathon, man.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's not just the 40. The 40 is the big flash, and we get them ready for that. But they're doing interviews for 3 days. They're doing medicals. It's a pretty long, drawn-out process. And then they have to run essentially on the last day. So we're out here with them, preparing them, continuing the taper, making sure that they're wired up and ready to go. So when they put their hand down on the turf and they go out there and run through those lasers, they feel fully prepared.
All right, so Exos is in Arizona. When you're telling me a guy like, I don't know, let's take Garrett Wilson was with you guys from Ohio State, or Abuka, or Xavier Worthy, who's got the fastest 40 time ever. He worked with you guys. When you take these guys, do they live like in Arizona in a bunk or a dorm, like, or are they just coming in and then I guess it's 6 days a week? So what is it? They're giving their life. It's like a reality show almost.
Yeah, no, it really is. It used to be pre-NIL. They'd all be up in a hotel room set up, and it was a little bit more of the grind days. Yep. Post NIL, everybody has a nice Airbnb.
They got their own spots.
Yeah. There's a couple more Mercedes in the parking lot. Yeah, it's a little different. But they come and set up shop in Arizona. So they basically pick up wherever they're coming from, and they move into Arizona for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. And they're, like I said, they're training. They're in the facility all day. The facility that we have is a beautiful facility.
Where is it? Scottsdale?
Yeah, it's North Phoenix, so just right next to Scottsdale. But yeah, right there in Phoenix, and everything is close by. Most of the guys live in Scottsdale. Scottsdale's 10 minutes away. you know, Scottsdale, Phoenix is basically the same thing to me. So yeah, the guys will stay at an Airbnb or a really nice hotel, or not hotel, apartment complex. There's a million apartment complexes out there. And then they're just in their training from 8 in the morning until 5 at night. You know, we have physical therapy is on site. Our dietitians are on site. Our kitchen is on site. We bring massage therapists in. So it's really meant to be a fully integrated system. So I manage all the speed work, but I also quarterback the whole system. And without everything else, the speed work is a minimal thing. If we can't control what their body composition is going to Indianapolis, if we can't manage physical therapy and make sure that the team is communicating at a very high level, that's what I think separates us from a lot of other people in the industry. Is we have a very, very integrated program. We have 6 weeks to take off tenths and hundredths of a second. It's about how many variables can you control in this process to make sure that not only are guys running faster, but I also have to be able to have a communication with the agent of he's going to run within these hundredths of a second.
Yeah.
So that's a really big part. We have to, yeah. So all of the timing that we do, it's all laser timers because we want to have realistic ideas of what the athletes are going to run. So I can tell an agent within a few hundredths of a second, he's going to run between 4.35 and 4.41. And he has to land in that spot so that we make sure that we're doing the right things in Indianapolis to help the athlete out. Because it's all about trying to help the athlete, boost draft stock, get more teams interested, get more teams looking at them.
40 time is so important, and it's the glamour thing. And you said it's not the only thing. And yet Xavier Worthy was one of your guys. He runs the fastest 40 ever. That's obviously a major win, but he also came in as a speedster. Do you guys get these guys to run faster 40s in those 8 weeks? You figure out a way, or is it more, here's how we're going to maximize this and make it consistent so you don't have a massive drop off?
No, the idea is everybody gets faster. It's definitely a big focus. Oh, absolutely. Even the big guys, like we had Jordan Davis too.
Oh my God. Jordan Davis is one of the greatest combine performances in the 40 ever.
I love Jordan. He's amazing. Yeah, so fast. I mean,
he was the first 360. What was he tipping the scales at?
330. No, he had to be 330.
He came in though at like 350 at Georgia, right? Like
absolute monster. Absolute monster. And so powerful. He was the first athlete, because we do a push button start on the laser just like they do in Indianapolis. I jumped back a little bit when he got out. His first step, I was like, oh goodness. Like, he is so explosive for being that size. It's honestly, I don't know how people deal with him in the NFL. And he's starting to cause havoc now too. But the idea is getting everybody faster. I mean, that's our goal. So we get a baseline test when they first come in, so we know where they're at. And then we're tracking progress the entire time. We're running time splits to make sure they're tracking in the right direction. If we need to make adjustments in the weight room, we make adjustments there. If we need to make adjustments in the kitchen, we'll make adjustments there. So it's all about preparing them to peak in Indianapolis so that they're running at their fastest on that day, at that time, and that moment. And then that's going to help them jump up. I mean, that's with Worthy. Worthy obviously was very fast coming in. And he came in and told me from day one, hey, I want to break the record.
I love
and
that.
Every kid comes in and says they want to break the record. And so at first you're like, okay, like let's get you to 4.3. 4.3 is very fast. But when he hit some of those time splits, I was like, oh, buddy, you got a chance. So his whole process was geared towards breaking the record versus a different athlete that was doing everything, position work. That's going to take up some time. With Worthy, it was, I want the record. And so our only focus was the record. And then he went out there and did it on the second rep. That was a whole crazy, I mean, he's the last runner in the second group. His name's Worthy, so he's the last guy to go.
Alphabetically, it goes alphabetically, yep.
And then, in the last few years, they've made the combine more of an event. So it's been gamified a little bit. Everybody knew he was going for the record on the second one. He goes 4.25 on the first one, and then bam, he breaks it. And then we were lucky enough to have Max Hairston last year too. So we had Worthy, and then Max Hairston last year was the 4.28. And I got another handful of Blazers coming in this year going for the three-peat. So
both those guys went in the first round, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Hairston to the Bills and Worthy, of course, to the Chiefs at the end of the first round. Who are your guys this year, as this is being aired before the actual competition for the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers? I would imagine wideouts and DBs are your fastest.
Yep. Yeah, I got some fast big men too. We have a lot of really, really amazing athletes. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And so I don't like to throw out the guys that are going to be really, really fast, but we have a great group of athletes. Our tight ends, Kenyon Sadiq is an absolute monster. He's going to do he's going to put up some great numbers. Oscar Delp is another one who's going to put up some really, really good numbers. And then Eli Stowers we have as well, who's also an absolute beast. Our receiver class is insane. We have Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate is in this class. He's been flying out there. He's running really well, really well. Deion Burks is going to be one that you definitely don't want to cut to commercial on. He's going to be fast. And then Brennan Thompson is another one who's a absolute blazer. Brennan has actually hit a few time splits. So we'll time different splits of the 40 versus the whole 40. He's hit a few time splits that have been faster than Worthy's time splits and Max's.
Okay.
So he's very fast. He's very fast. But we have a great group of guys. Like everybody here is ready to go, and they all have their projected times and what they're going to do. And whether it's go break the record or it's break into the 4.4s. I mean, it's like Deebo Samuel was a bubble guy. He wanted to hit that 4.4. He went and he hit his 4.47, and it's, projected his career as far as it has. So, this whole process is just about what is each guy's individual race, what is their PR, what is their world record, and then go out there and hit that. So it's awesome, man. It's a really fun program.
I had coffee this morning with an NFL general manager, and he was about to head over to interview all the quarterbacks. You talk about the non-physical workout stuff. I think it's as important about these team meetings. How do you guys train them when it comes to meeting with a team for the first time? You're going to have to get on the playbook, obviously get on the board a little bit, but you're also going to have to just not be a total when you're meeting with these guys. You want to give off a positive energy. What is the process where it's doing the interview process and the formals? How do you get them to be the best version of themselves?
So we do some formal stuff. We bring in position coaches. A lot of the position coaches have been in the league for a long time or had a pretty good career. So they do the board work with them. They do film review, and each position will have their own position coach that comes in and works in to prepare them for those. We also do some formal interview prep where they just kind of talk through what to expect. But the other side is just making sure that they're fully prepared for this situation. I mean, a lot of the guys are stressing about, really, it's the biggest interview of their life. So if they're physically prepared for the 40, for the jumps, for the position work, and they're confident going into it, then the interviews, there's a little bit less stress. And it's just talking to the guys, just be yourself.
Be authentic.
Be authentic. Be yourself. I mean, most of these guys are absolutely amazing, super lovable guys. Not most of them. They all are. So it's just a matter of, there's probably going to be some situations where maybe some teams try to get in your head a little bit, especially if you have a little cloudy past. Just be authentic, be honest. They're just trying to get to know you better and see how you react in pressure situations. So as long as you know that coming in, guys are good. I mean, that's really the big prep there, is just feel prepared. You're prepared. You're ready to go. We've been doing this for 8 weeks. Be confident, be ready, and just go be yourself.
Nic, I'm going to wrap with this. Give me a good story of a prospect that you guys took as a raw piece of clay and you molded them, and maybe your proudest moment as an elite performance expert. Give me one of them, and maybe a story from start to finish of where you got someone and you were so proud of him when he finally finished that workout.
There's a big one. There's a lot of really, really big ones there. And it's usually not the guys. Yeah. I mean, obviously Worthy wasn't a super amazing thing to watch him go out there and do that. But it's usually the guys that are kind of running within their range of like a 4.5, something like that. So we had Ray Davis a few years ago,
running back,
yeah, and he had a very, they did a whole story on him growing up and like how his childhood was and kind of all the adversity that he had. And he came in at a certain time. I don't want to throw him out there, but he came in at a certain time and he knew he had to run the 4.5. That was his goal, was mid 4.5 or better.
Did you think it was realistic when he said that with 8 weeks?
Yeah. It's, I mean, the times that we've seen drop and like the guy's ability to condition and adapt, these are elite adapters, not just elite athletes, but you give them a little stimulus and they figure it out very quickly. So he was one that there was a little bit of extra on your shoulders to make sure that he went out there and did really well. And so when he went out and he ran the 4.53, 4.52, whatever it ended up being, there was definitely some tears shed on that one, of just knowing how much he's been through and how hard he worked through the process, how invested he was in it. and then what that meant for him moving forward. Like that really helped him in the draft. And then, he ended up with the Bills and he's been playing really well there. And it's just, that was an amazing one. That was like, it didn't make big headlines of what he ran because he's a running back and that's a good time for a running back and it's awesome and you move on. But for us sitting behind the TV and watching that in Indianapolis on the couch, that one was, when he hit that number, there was definitely some watering in the eyes for sure.
I want to ask you about DK Metcalf. He comes in here, one of the greatest physical specimens we've ever seen. We all know about the shirtless photos. He came to Exos. When you get that raw product, what was the process like getting him ready for the combine?
Very similar. I mean, he came in fast, right? He came in fast, explosive, very powerful, but he's going through the same process as everybody else. We're getting a good breakdown of what he's doing from an evaluation standpoint coming in, and then we build out the speed and the strength and the diet and all that. I mean, I think he weighed in at like something insane. His body composition was like 1% body fat, and everybody was like, that's not true. He would be dead if he was 1% body fat. Doesn't make sense. But then you see him go out there and rip that 4.3, and we knew he was going to go 4.3 something because he ran 4.3 at our progress testing. And so it was just a matter of like sitting on the couch. We call it the Indy couches down here, and we're just sitting there on the couch watching the guys run. And when he ripped out of there and he got up and was just a muscle car, just tracking down that lane, and it goes 4.33, everybody just jumped through the roof. So yeah, that was a fun one to see him just come out here and obliterate everything.
You said Jordan Davis. Give me another big guy you're proud of in a story that you could share.
Oh yeah, Frank Crum. Frank Crum was was awesome. Big lettuce. Yeah, that's my guy right there. He was just, he wanted to go sub-5, super athletic. I mean, he just caught a touchdown in a couple of weeks ago, right? Yeah, so yeah. Super athletic, just awesome guy to work with. And seeing him go out there and run that sub-5 time and just running down with the hair just flowing behind him, that was a big one. That was awesome.
I have such fondness for Indy, and every year they're talking about moving it, but like kind of feels
like
leave
it here.
Leave it, right?
You gotta leave it. I love Indy. The same ballroom, the same walk over to the stadium, back and forth to the convention center. I mean, it's cold weather outside. You got St. Elmo's right there. I mean, it's awesome. I love Indy. Indy's the best.
Before we wrap, we're going to obviously have the combine drills going on all off our NFL network, and everything's going to be online. It's like, I always love it. You get LeBron James tweeting about the 40s, Patrick Mahomes, everyone's watching. Like, everyone's watching. What's your favorite combine moment of all time?
Oh, it has to be the 4.21. I mean, that was such a huge moment. Not for us, but for Worthy. For him to go out there and him to be talking about wanting to break that record and working as hard as he did. I mean, he was a blazer. He could have came in and just kind of went through the process and ran 4.26 and helped himself just as much and went in the same spot in the draft. But how hard he worked for that, how coachable he was, how dialed in he was through that process. And then for him to hit it was just, nobody thought that 4.22 was going to be touched. And credit to John Ross for running that time and the team that he worked with and for it to stand as long as it did. And so just to see that happen was amazing. And I'll finish on, this is just one really cool part of this process. As a performance coach, we don't really see a 1-for-1 of, did this actually change this athlete, right? So most performance coaches, we work with guys in the off season. So I have some NBA guys that I work with, NFL guys that I work with, but then you pass them off to the team. And if it's a receiver, it depends on the offensive line, the scheme, the quarterback, all that. This is one of those times where as a performance coach, we know black and white. Did you do your job or did you not do your job? And it's a third-party tested system. We control as many variables as possible in this process. And so when you get to Indy and these guys run and you have 40 guys hit it and each one of them hits their time and each one of them goes and performs, it's very black and white. Do I know what I'm doing as a performance coach or not? And if I don't, I better figure this out and get better because this athlete is relying on me. And so that's why I love Indy so much, because it's a checkpoint for us. It's a very, it keeps you in check. It keeps you learning. It makes sure that it's making sure that you stay humble as a coach so that you can perform for these guys because it's all about them.
And really I can only imagine the gratitude that these guys have for you when it's all done and the hugs that you guys have.
Oh,
and
man.
The farewells. And it's got to be so emotional because the 8 weeks is like, it's like boot camp, right?
It's a pressure cooker. It's absolutely a pressure cooker.
And you're not necessarily Mr. Nice Guy to these guys.
No. I mean, that's my style of coaching is very fun and like we have a good time, but sometimes you got to bring them up and be like, guys, that was not it. Like we got to lock in. Today was not the day. So you're in that pressure cooker situation. And if you deliver in this process, the athletes will trust you forever. Like I've been working with Deebo Samuel for basically his entire career after this process. Christian Kirk was one of my guys early on, and I have him rolling in March 2nd to come and train in the offseason. So you build that relationship and that trust in this pressure situation, and the guys, you love them forever. It's also cool to see them because they're working together. I mean, you have best with best. And so you'll see those guys 4 years down in the NFL jersey swapping, and the only relationship they had was training at Exos. Yeah, it's awesome. It's such a cool program. It's such a cool lead up into Indianapolis, and everything that happens before then is just, I mean, it's the best time of year. January 2nd comes, and I'm losing it out here. I'm ready to go.
I love it, dude. Your energy is contagious. I so appreciate you jumping on. You're a very busy man. You got a bunch of guys competing this week. We'll be rooting for all of them. Nic Hill from Exos. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, that was cool. Nic Hill, obviously he runs Exos, which is the big performance facility. It was really great to hear those insights. And then John Schneider, that's an all-world guy. Guys, Combine, like I said, all the drills, you'll see them Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday night they begin. We'll be on it all, and then I'll be on Get Up Monday and Tuesday of next week to recap it all. Then we'll have a lot more on the free agency side of things and some of these quarterbacks and the quarterback carousel. Many thanks to Jack Foster and Mark Grillo from the Omaha squad. And for you at home watching on TV and YouTube, seeing this from a hotel room, I know it's very close quarters. It is what it is, and we so appreciate you tuning in. Awesome stuff. I love doing this show. I love that you guys are all listening and watching. Let's keep it rocking. We'll have another good one next week. Thank you.